All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this webinar. We are still waiting for a few more participants, so please allow 2 more minutes before we start.
Did you know that small and medium-sized enterprises represent 99% of all businesses in the EU and account for 70% of all jobs? Close to 45% of GDP in the EU was generated by IPR-intensive industries. SMEs are the motor of the EU economy. Their potential to boost employment and drive future innovation, 2 key priorities for the European Union, should not be overlooked. SMEs are particularly present in innovative industries such as clean technologies, healthcare, ICT, etc. Today, more and more SMEs are looking for business opportunities in emerging markets. Many of those companies are considering China, Southeast Asia, and Latin America as potential destinations. Trade relations between the EU and emerging markets have taken a new turn with the ongoing negotiation of FTAs and investment agreements. These regions are attractive destinations for European investors, with their fast-growing markets, rising middle classes, and competitiveness. Due to limited resources and available capacity, SMEs face many difficulties in managing their IP assets, and particularly when this involves IPR infringement in other regions. Intangible assets such as intellectual property rights are key factors in the competitiveness of businesses in the global economy. We have to be aware that IPR-intensive industries contributed 86% of imports and 93% of exports to EU external trade. And in developing markets such as Southeast Asia, Latin American countries, and China, your trademark, patent, trade secret, industrial design are endangered. Before internationalizing your business, take an active part in protecting your assets. The International IPR SME Helpdesks are here to assist you and contribute to SMEs internationalization by the provision of step-by-step advice to build a successful IPR strategy for entering into the Chinese, Southeast Asian, and/or Latin American markets. The range of services offered by the Helpdesk includes a 24-hour helpline service to reply to IPR questions, free online and on-site trainings delivered by IPR experts, free publications on various IPR topics and country fact sheets, and other useful information forms such as case studies, e-learning modules, video podcasts, and more. So if you have any inquiries on IP protection, contact the Helpdesk in China, SEA, or Latin America to learn how to manage your IP assets and expand your business successfully.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this webinar on the online enforcement of intellectual property rights in Thailand. My name is Franck Fougere. I am the managing partner of Ananda Intellectual Property and current chairman of EABC, the European Chamber of Commerce in Thailand Intellectual Property Working Group. I am also an IP expert for the Southeast Asia IP SME Helpdesk. This webinar today is brought to you by the Southeast Asia IP SME Helpdesk and the EABC. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our schedule for today. First of all, we'll have a presentation of Kannicha Wungmuthitakul, associate with one of Thailand's most prestigious intellectual property law firm, Tilleke and Gibbins, followed by a presentation of Raenuka Fangtong from Lazada, government affair manager, in particular in charge of all regulatory aspects and partnership of Lazada and a relationship with the Thai government. After the presentation of the two speakers, we will have a Q&A session that will be moderated by myself together with Mr. Benoit Tardy, who is an IP business advisor for the Helpdesk. Without further ado, I would like to give the floor to our first speaker, Kannicha, to tell us about the challenges of enforcing intellectual property rights in the online environment, in particular in Thailand. Kannicha, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Frank. Let me share my slide. Do you see my slide?
Yes.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon for some of you. My name is Kannicha, and I'm associate at Tilleke and Gibbins, based in Bangkok. I'm working in IP enforcement department, where I gained extensive experiences in IP online enforcement. Before I begin with my presentation, there is a mini quiz, which is a simply yes or no question. The question is, have you ever encountered counterfeit issue, online counterfeit of your products online? You may vote yes or no. And I understand that the result show that 64% haven't encountered counterfeit issue online, and 36% vote yes. My today's agenda will cover three main topics, which are the types of online IP infringement in Thailand, the MOU on online IP protection, and the enforcement strategies against counterfeit goods or online content on online platform. As the rise of mobile technologies, as well as the spread of COVID-19, has changed consumer behavior, leading many away from shopping at physical store toward purchasing products online. As a result, traditional enforcement action undertaken by the Thai government authorities may not give a complete picture of the trend in online IP infringement this day. It is important to start by noting that there are several types of online IP infringement. It could be the product that infringe your trademark, copyright, patent, or it could be the copyright infringing materials. There are also three major online platforms that infringers use to distribute the goods online, which are the online marketplace, such as Lazada, Shopee, and JD Central, and social media sites, such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and the private website using dedicated domain name .com or .co.th. In addition, there is some copyright infringing content, which can be everything you can see or listen to on the internet. Over the past few years, the Thai government agencies have placed a firm focus on tackling online infringement. The DIP, the Department of Intellectual Property, initiated the Memorandums of Understanding on the protection of IPR on the Internet to set up a voluntary mechanism between the IP rights owner and Internet platform to combat online IP infringement. However, the MOU does not create additional rights for IP right holder, but allow relevant stakeholders to work together to find workable solutions to address IP infringement. This MOU also not legally binding on the signatory, but it demonstrates the intentions of the government authorities and the e-commerce platform to work together to suppress IP infringement online. This MOU was signed on January 11 last year by 22 representatives of IPR owners, major e-commerce platforms including Lazada, Shopee, and JD Central, the rights holders, and the law firms. IP owners who find counterfeit goods online can select from the following enforcement strategies, which are notice and take down complaint, website blocking, and traditional legal action. The notice and take down process is a tool for IP owner to have the platform take down user upload posts or page that infringe IP rights. Before having the infringing content removed from the shopping platform, there are several steps for IP owner to follow, which could be vary from one platform to another. Maybe Raenuka could elaborate more on this. But the information and document typically required to support the notice takedown complaints usually include the details of IP owners, the authorizations of letters if complaint is filed by the legal representative, the evidence of IP ownership, and the evidence of infringement. Turning to website blocking, Section 20, subsection 3 of the Computer Crime Act provides a mechanism for IP owner to block access to the websites that infringe online IP rights. This approach could be used when there is the infringing private website and its ISP located in other country. This provision grants the Ministry of Digital Economy and Societies, or MDES, and its officials the authority to request the court order to permanently block access to infringing content. The process here could be a bit complicated. It can get started by IP owner submit a petition form to the DIP to request enforcement action under the Computer Crime Act. But if it is a copyright infringement case, the right holder have to submit a criminal complaint with the police first, because copyright infringement is also a state offense. The DIP will take around 2 to 3 weeks to review the document and supporting evidence and submit the petition along with the document to the MDES. Once the MDES approves, the officer will file a motion with the court requesting the website be blocked or that its contents be deleted. Finally, if the court grants the order, the MDS will coordinate with ISP to force the blocking process. But in practice, it could take several months for the relevant authorities to process the case. So the overall process might take longer time than the notice takedown process request with the e-commerce platform. These are other enforcement action options that could be taken against online infringement. The first option is the civil action. The purpose of this action is to claim damage and request that the court order that the infringement be stopped. Second is the criminal public action, to seize all infringing goods and to allow the court to render criminal punishment, which could be fines or even imprisonment. The next option is the border control through custom recordation. This approach can be used to stop infringing goods from entering into Thailand at the border by the collaboration with custom officers. The next one is sending cease and desist letters. If the IP owner are able to find the actual address of the infringers, the IP owner can choose to send a C&D letters demanding that the infringers stop the infringement and comply with other demands and sign the undertaking. In case where there is a clear infringement, there is often a high chance that the negotiation would succeed. And the alternative dispute resolution could be another option. This is the mediation agreed to by all parties and conducted through the Department of Intellectual Properties and the Central IP and IT Court. IP owner may sometimes choose this option because infringers are more likely to negotiate and willing to settle the case if there is the government authorities or judicial body involved in the case. But before taking any further actions, it is necessary for brand owners to conduct an online market survey to confirm the target. A preliminary investigation is a useful way to discover the name and address of the infringers. This is necessary if the IP owner would like to send a C&D letters before taking any further action. In some cases, it is also necessary to conduct a test purchase. First is to check the sending address of the infringers, and the second is to confirm if the goods are genuine or counterfeit. If the IP owner would like to locate the warehouse or factory of the infringer, it is recommended to conduct the in-depth investigation. So as a first step, it might be necessary to assess whether which types of IP rights were infringed upon, and to subsequently assess whether additional investigation is required. Once the investigation is conducted and we obtain the results of the investigation, we can further decide which option is appropriate to proceed further. To give an example, one of our clients, a multinational electronic maker, discovered that counterfeits of its battery were being sold in Thailand through a major e-commerce website. The company filed a takedown request with the platform, requesting that the infringing URL removed. However, the problem persists, as after the infringing URL were removed, the infringer set up the new URL or new post the next day. So the electronic maker decided to carry out a preliminary investigation and found that 5 online sellers share the same shipping address. However, the shipping address was fake, and a further investigation was needed to find the real location of the hidden warehouse. After the investigation, we shared the result with the police to alert them the true identity and the actual address of the online infringers. According to the coordination with the police, a successful raid action which took place at the warehouse outside Bangkok last year, the police could seize more than 82,000 counterfeit items and arrest the infringers, who is a Chinese national who confessed that he bought the counterfeit product from China and imported into Thailand and offer for sales on online platform. While there is no one size fit for all enforcement strategies and no one method will be able to address every act of online infringement, brand owners should be aware of the various approaches available to bolster their enforcement strategies. In particular, brand owners should consider the use of multiple strategies when enforcing their rights based on circumstance of each case, such as by exploring any other relevant laws besides trademark or copyright law, such as consumer protection law or custom law, to assist the enforcement effort. Brand owners should also equip themselves with knowledge of different enforcement agencies, understand their roles, and to foster good working relationship with them, and an awareness of consumer trends and how preference may change from time to time is also important. So the checks or regular monitoring through online market survey would be beneficial in terms of combating online infringement. And that would be the end of my presentation. And if you have any question after that, please feel free to ask.
Thank you very much, Kannicha, for this very insightful presentation on the challenges on enforcing intellectual property rights online. I know from your background that you work in the investigation and litigation department of a law firm, and this is your daily job. And another aspect of your work is to engage also with the e-commerce platform. And today we are very honored to have Raenuka from Lazada. You know that Lazada is one of the top e-commerce platforms in Southeast Asia, and they have been working for many years to try to eradicate the issue of counterfeit goods sold online. So today we have a unique opportunity to hear from the policies and the tools that Lazada puts in place to effectively combat online infringing items. Ms. Raenuka, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you very much, Frank, for the introduction, and it's a pleasure for me to be here and to speak with all of you today as well. So allow me to share screen. Do let me know if you can see it. Okay, is this good for everyone?
We can see the screen.
Okay, perfect. All right. So today, well, of course, Kannicha was presenting about the overall picture on online IP infringement. And so for my role today, we'll be talking about on how Lazada as an e-commerce platform has been enforcing it and implementing all of that into our practice as well. So a little bit on about who Lazada is. So we are Southeast Asia's leading e-commerce platform. And in the region, as of this year, it is our 10th anniversary. So we've been around for a while now. But what we've been trying to do so far for the past 10 years is we try to join, to join as in bringing consumers and businesses to come together and meet and, to create this what we call a best-in-class shopping experience. And then along the way that we do also have a mission where we try to accelerate progress in the region with commerce and technology as well. And then we do hope that within by 2030, we will be serving 300 million customers, and also at the same time supporting jobs, creating jobs, building, I would say, a sound e-commerce ecosystem, and also supporting SMEs across the region as well. And so, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, is we've been here 10 years, and we have what we call 6 ventures within the Southeast Asia. And actually, in the beginning, we were called Rocket Internet until 2016, when Alibaba Group invested in us and, of course, rebranded, and we are Lazada, as what you all know today. And the fact that a little bit that why I mentioned about Alibaba is, as I think we all know, Alibaba is quite big, and they're known, very well known globally. And so as that Lazada is Alibaba's Southeast Asia arm, what we do also as well as we actually have the opportunity to leverage Alibaba's technology, which is also investing and looking into the IP protection as well. So as I mentioned, Lazada gives importance to IP protection. We've actually been doing it throughout 10 years, but as you know, e-commerce has become more and more popular every day, particularly during the pandemic, when it kind of, I would say, skyrocket in a way. And so, of course, we've been trying to, we are working to increase our focus on that. And one of the examples, like with the MOU with the Department of Intellectual Property as well. And then looking into our 4 focus areas. So I mentioned a little bit, strict IPR policy is, of course, internally we do prohibit all like counterfeit products. We have a system that screens and monitors any counterfeit goods. A lot of times we do have this system within our operations where once we monitor them even before the items go on sale. So we call it here like when we go on live. So we do have that as well. Lazada, as you know, a tech company, we're very technologically driven. And so because of that, we leverage a lot of technology. We do depend on that. And we at the same time, when it comes to IPP, we also invest into having proactive measures like the screening process that I mentioned. We do have pilot programs and also the IPP platform, which I will elaborate a little bit later in my presentation. And then apart from our operations and our technology, we also do, I would say, external engagements in educating our merchants, our sellers, either online and offline. Like for example, with online, we have a feature we call Lazada University. So it is an online site where sellers and even the public can learn about how to do business online and to understand what e-commerce is. And so along the way in Lazada University, we also have courses and people come teach us in creating awareness in IPP protection as well. And then lastly, is also with a stakeholder engagement. So not just with the public, but also particularly with our regulators, important stakeholders in IPP protection. As Franck introduced me earlier, I do work in government affairs. So it's also, for me, my role is to work with the government, like the Department of Intellectual Property, with the MOU as a partner on, fighting counterfeit products and all of that as well. Yeah. And then moving on, and then a little bit that I mentioned is the IPP platform. So it's one of the things that Lazada and also as part of Alibaba, we've been trying to develop this platform to make sure that there is a system where Lazada and even sellers, owners of patents can register or even report on any notice and takedown, like what Kannicha mentioned earlier. And so we've created this, I would say, one-stop service portals where you can submit complaints against any suspected infringing product listings. And we all, at the same time, we have been continuously developing the system to make sure that it's user-friendly and very easy, but at the same time also has all of the requirements and documents needed. So I'll give you a little bit more detail later in the next one here. So this is what we've also developed with the platform is we've created a handbook as well and have translated it into 9 languages. I've actually provided a link at the end of my slide, so you can also look into that. So basically what the IPP platform handbook is kind of, I would say it's kind of like a Bible, a to-do. How do you register an account there? What documents are needed? And then what the verification process is. And then lastly, how to file a complaint and managing all those takedown requests, or if there's any counter arguments and all that. So we try to create I would say a one-stop service with a holistic system where at the same time also user-friendly. Like for example, it's a one-time registration. So if I know in this webinar, some of you are SME business owners as well. And so to let you know, the IPP platform, it's a one-time registration. You use one email and then it's just that one email going onwards. And then apart on the IPP platform, I mentioned a little bit about our partnership with DIP with the MOU. So what we've been working so far, and since I've onboarded as well, is we've had meetings, regular meetings with DIP, small group discussions, and also we do kind of like online training sessions. Like for example, I actually did one around two weeks ago on this as well, and that's like a collaboration under our MOU on that. And comparing out since the MOU, we've been seeing that local SMEs and individuals have had more awareness in IPP protection and have been using it to enforce their rights. There has been more, I would say, activity when it comes to submitting complaints or understanding more on the process at the same time. And it's also been shown that there's been more active users monthly registered onto the IPP as well. And then an example of our stakeholder engagement and enforcement as well. So I think this is one of the, I would say, the largest seizure of fake products in Southeast Asia. And this is one of the things that Lazada has partnered with Panasonic and also the Thai police in seizing more than 82,000 counterfeit batteries in July last year. So I think it was one of the largest offline enforcement raids that we did, but at the same time, it's also showing our commitment and that we are very serious with this issue, and we are committed, and we do try to continue to do better when it comes to IPP protection. So all in all, just a few words before I wrap up my presentation is apart from the handbook and the IPP platform that Lazada has created, we've been releasing an annual IPR report for Lazada on what we have done, the numbers so far. The link, I also will be providing it at the end of my presentation, but these are all the resources that that rights holders can look for to see how IPR works and our system works on Lazada. And yeah, we do I would say, again, as a leading e-commerce platform, we will continue to work with IPR owners, government agencies to make sure that we're able to enhance our IPR protection programs and also continually work to make, I would say, the whole e-commerce environment a better and a safer place. So thank you very much. And as I mentioned, the links you can definitely click on to see either the IPR handbook translated into 9 languages or the annual report on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kun Raenuka, for your presentation. I think we will have an interesting Q&A session now, because we want to be very practical. We want to give recommendations to SMEs in particular. I found it very interesting that you mentioned Lazada support to SMEs, because in fact, a lot of people selling on Lazada are actually small companies or individual sellers trying to make a living out of selling their own products. So indeed, even if we think of Panasonic, for example, for the big case of counterfeit item, right. SMEs have opportunity as well as challenges also online. I guess while we wait for some questions being asked in the chat, I would like to ask you maybe one first question to both of you. If you could give us maybe your top 3 advices or recommendations for European SMEs in terms of IP protection online, what would be your 3 maybe main recommendations from Lazada first, and then maybe from a legal perspective? What would you recommend?
Can I clarify on the question as in general, or particularly if European SMEs would be interested with like?
I think particularly for European SMEs, because these the Southeast Asia IP SME Helpdesk provides assistance in particular to European SMEs when it comes to IP questions they have in Southeast Asia. So what would be maybe one of or 3 recommendations you could make in particular to SMEs? They do not need to be specifically European, because maybe the fact that they are European confuses you, but what would you recommend them to do to protect their intellectual property rights, and especially when they are selling and they are using your platform to sell their products in Southeast Asia?
Well, thank you very much. I think one of the most one of the top recommendation is for me that I would give as Lazada is I think it's very important to register onto the platform. I think that's one of the most important thing, because once you are registered, like as I mentioned, our Lazada's IPP platform, we try to create a holistic system to have everything in I would say in our operations. So if you or any SMEs, not just European SMEs, if you would like to get on board on Lazada, and I would say at the same time prevent on any counterfeit products, do register into our system, and our system will also help monitor and detect counterfeit products on this as well. And I think another, because as I mentioned, as we've been trying to improve our platform, so I think by now it's pretty much advanced. So if you register, we'll let our system will also help detect on that. And then my second recommendation is I think creating awareness is very important. It's one of Lazada's initiatives that we've been continuously working on. But I do think at the same time, it's public awareness on IPP isn't very large in Southeast Asia, to be honest. So I think if there can be an increase in creating awareness or building this communications to help people understand more on what IPP infringement is, how I would say, I mean, what infringement is, counterfeit products is, because I mean, I think if you've been in the region, you have seen that it's, all these like small stores and you can find counterfeit products. So, I mean, what that reflects is it means that there's not a lot of awareness, right? So I do believe that creating awareness and more communications, even making it sound easier, because these technical things can scare people away. But if there is a way to communicate it to make it more friendly for the public, I think this would definitely help. Yeah. So I'm supposed to give 3 recommendations. I have 2 right now.
I think you gave us the most important one.
Yeah.
In very practical terms, so in order to register, for example, the trademark or design or copyright with your platform, do these intellectual property rights need to be registered first with the Department of Intellectual Property? So you can provide maybe a copy of the registration certificate, and then once it is entered in your system, you will automatically monitor, or it will just be helpful for the IP owners so that they don't have to re-enter this information every time?
Yes, so what you understand is correct. So we have, so apart from registering yourself onto the IPP platform, we will also require you to verify the rights holder. So we'll be asking all kinds of documents, and once you submit all of that online, we will have a team to look into that and then approve them, or communicate back to you, get back to you whether what if there's missing any documentation, do we need everything else, or this is all good. And then once we have all of that document, we do have a section where you can file a complaint, but at the same time, our system will also try to detect to see if there's any infringement or counterfeit products once you've registered. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the precision. I know you have to leave soon, so I will ask you another questions now, which
Sure.
Is in relation to the maybe to the Panasonic case or maybe to other cases. What we hear often is that the counterfeiters who sell online are very difficult to identify because they are anonymous, they hide behind an IP address, but it's very difficult to actually connect the online infringer with the actual physical person. And I know that with the Memorandum of Understanding that has been entered by IP owners, IP law firms, and e-commerce platform in Thailand, that there has been some more active cooperation between the IP right owners and the e-commerce platform in exchanging information also regarding the true identity of the sellers. Is that something that you see possible in general to provide information about the seller on the Lazada website, or is that something that is difficult for you because of personal data protection? And here I would like to hear from you how you solve the issue of preserving the confidential information about your clients, while at the same time ensuring that repeated infringement cannot occur when it is the same person, constantly opening a new shop. How do you address this specifically?
So I think I can break down that answer into two parts. So the first part, I think it's on data information sharing. So how Lazada's practice has been when it comes to sharing seller information is we do it via the government. So like, for example, what we do now is it's correct, especially, and that's also why our partnership with the DIP, with the MOU is very important, is we actually work with the DIP and through the DIP in requesting or providing information on that. So we understand, because we are also concerned about data privacy. So how our practice is if the IP wants information on the seller, or if should there be a case with counterfeit products, DIP would send us a letter, an official letter, requesting for these information. And then with this letter, then we provide whatever is asked for it. Yes. And I'm sorry, so what was the second part again? You mentioned,
no, I think you have answered my questions
perfect.
very well. Thank you so much. So maybe I will open the floor for other questions. I think we have one panelist with a lot of questions. Benoit, if you would like to ask a question to either one of our speaker.
Yes.
And while I will check in the chat if we have any questions from the floor. I invite you to post your question in the chat so that we have an interesting discussion. We still have plenty of time.
Actually, thank you, Frank. Actually, we just received a question from Kumpol Wilaipur. It's a question directed to Lazada. So I seize the opportunity that we still have Mrs. Raenuka Fangtong.
Sure.
The question is, can general people inform Lazada about shops still currently selling counterfeit goods? For example, English books, which are owned by copyright by a foreigner? If so, what is the channel to inform such matters?
Yes. So the answer is yes. General people can inform when they see any counterfeit goods, and there's actually multiple channels. So we have there's also the email, the IPP email. On the application itself, there is the part where you can send a complaint. You can make a call to the customer care, excuse me, to also report these issues as well. So multiple, or even on our social media as well. So multiple channels. Yeah. Multiple channels. Okay, great. I would like to maybe hear, Franck, the point of view of Mrs. Kannicha regarding the first question that was asked to Mrs. Raenuka on the three top tips for companies in general, and when they want to settle a new activity in Thailand.
Okay, of course. My first recommendation for SME businesses would be obtaining protection for your core IP rights before entering into the local market, because it kind of like equipped with the weapon before combating against the infringement. So as you know, the trademark registration could take some time, but it's better to start protecting your rights. Another recommendation would be, as you know, the infringers are able to set up new pages or posts after the previous one were taken down or removed. So for some of the big company, I understand that there is online sweep campaign that they regularly conduct from time to time or quarterly. But for some SMEs, some small businesses may have limited budget to do so, like to proceed with the online sweep campaign like this. My recommendation would be to prioritize the target first. You may focus on the big target. You may separate the action plan into different phases and focus on the big target with larger volume of counterfeit listing first, and then subsequently proceed with another smaller infringers. And the last recommendation would be to update your knowledge about the notice takedown mechanisms offered through various online platforms, so you can understand the process to do if you would like to take down those infringing posts or contents. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this recommendation, very practical. Yes, indeed, we all have one common aim, is to raise awareness on IP, not only for e-commerce and online infringement, but the overall intellectual property environment. And this is also why you can obtain information from the Southeast Asia IP SME Helpdesk, also from the IP sector of EABC, the Chamber of Commerce in Thailand, also from the local authorities or the IP office. Speaking of e-commerce, there are also some big discussion about MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. I don't know if anyone wants to share something, maybe explain a bit more on this topic, the MOU on e-commerce in Thailand.
I think if I may add, Benoit, before we let our speaker answers, indeed, there are some recent legal developments in Thailand that we would very much like to hear about. There is the MOU, as we have talked, MOU regarding combating online enforcement that was signed early January 2021. But in the meantime, there has been the adoption of a new Thai Copyright Act. And also, we have heard the plans of a second MOU regarding the fight against advertisers who benefit from advertising on websites offering illicit and counterfeit contents. So could you tell us a little bit about the 2021 MOU, the possible second MOU, and also the impact that will have the recent adoption of the draft of the new Thai Copyright Act? Thank you.
Frank, you didn't mention who you would like to.
I think both ladies are equally knowledgeable, so maybe Kannicha can start first, and maybe Raenuka want to add a few more things after.
According to my recent discussion with the DIP's officers, the DIP is currently drafting the second MOUs to combat advertising on websites that providing copyright infringing content. But the draft MOU is currently in state of internal discussings. There will be another meetings in the future, but this MOU will be the responsibilities under the copyright department of the DIP. And hopefully we will see the draft next year. The signatories of this MOU would be the media agencies or the advertising sectors. The aim of this MOU is to limit the advertising on websites that infringe copyright or disseminate the counterfeit goods. So in a year to come, there would be a development on this aspect. Yeah.
I guess I'll add a little bit to that. Is I mean, as Lazada, as an e-commerce platform, we've already signed the first MOU. So we will be more than delighted to sign on the second one as well. But you, in the meantime, in the development process, if you need any inputs from us private sectors, from Lazada or even other e-commerce platforms, I mean, just do let us know. I mean, not just Lazada, but I'm sure all the other platforms would be happy to participate in this part as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe Kannicha, if you can tell us also about the new Thai Copyright Act, and I think the importance of such a new act in particular with respect to the online enforcement.
The amended Copyright Act update the practice in combating online infringement to comply with the WIPO Copyright Treaty. Previously, the notice and takedown mechanisms under the old Copyright Act in 2015 under Section 32/3, which relies on the court order, is a bit impractical. So there are a few significant developments in the current amended Copyright Act. The first significant development is the safe harbors of the ISP. The amended Act classify ISP into 4 categories, which are intermediaries, caching ISPs, hosting, and search engines. So if these 4 types of ISPs comply with the requirement under the law, that would be fall into the safe harbor, which means the exemptions of liabilities of the copyright infringement. The general requirement for ISP is the ISP must have announced and comply with their policy to take down or to terminate the user who are repeat infringers. But there are also specific requirements which would be different from each type of ISP. It is also clear under the new act that hosting ISP and search engines ISP are required to provide the channel for reporting copyright infringement. I believe that this should make it easier for copyright owner to report the copyright infringing contents, and it would provide copyright owner with greater protection against the online infringement.
Thank you very much. I see that we have one question in the chat box in the Q&A. So I will read it, and maybe Kannicha, you can read it as well and try to answer it. Raenuka, I know you have a meeting at 4 o'clock, so in case you need to leave, please, no problem. Otherwise, maybe we'll keep going for another 10-15 minutes. So Kannicha, here's the question in the Q&A. Some ISPs are actually SMEs themselves. Their ability to claim safe harbor is part of the system. We would be interested in time in any reports on ease of an ISP claiming safe harbor or not being responsible, in the right case, for IPR infringement. Thank you.
So, as I mentioned earlier, if the amended Copyright Act enter into force, which is August this year, the ISP will have safe harbor if they comply with the requirements. If you are the hosting ISP and you proceed with the copyright complaint to take down the infringing contents, so you would be exempt from the liabilities. But under the amended act, there also be the counter claim from the other parties. So the ISP may have the duty to bring up again the contents if the specific time period has passed according to the law. So if you comply with all of these steps, I think the ISP would be fall into the safe harbor.
Thank you. Benoit, do we have any other questions from the floor?
Right now, no more question on the chat box, but we still have a couple of minutes. So if people want to ask anything related either to EABC, the subsidiary IPSME Helpdesk, or the presentations that we received today, e-commerce, the MOU.
Sure, so I will do a little bit of self-promotion here. You can see a QR code which you can use to download the EABC position paper, which contains a very large chapter on intellectual property, and where we address the hot issues in terms of intellectual property and the legislative developments regarding intellectual property in Thailand. Also, if you would like to request a digital copy, you can send an email to the EABC. I see there is a new comment in the chat. All right, so no more questions in the chat. I maybe have one of the final questions for you, Kannicha, which is, of course, the difficulty of enforcing in the online environment, because you do need registered IP rights, or we know that many rights are not registered, for example, copyright, and that it sometimes also takes a lot of time to obtain registration. One of the concern of IP owners in Thailand is that it takes more than 1 year to get the trademark registered. And while the trademark is not registered, it cannot be efficiently enforced. Could you tell us more about that difficulty, and whether there are some recommendations that you can make for IP owners who do not have registered rights in Thailand, but nevertheless would like to try to enforce or protect their IP assets in Thailand?
if the IP owner has not yet registered the trademark in Thailand, we can rely on other offense under penal code, which would rely on foreign registration or the unregistered mask. But the penalties under the penal code could be lower than the penalty under the Trademark Act. Yes, we can use this offense to file complaint with the police or to proceed with C&D letters. But if IP owner choose to file notice takedown complaint via platforms, some platform actually require the registration certificate when submitting a complaint. But as far as I know, some platform like Shopee also accept pending trademark application when uploading and filing complaint. For copyright, the copyright recordation is not mandatory, as you know, but to prove the copyright ownership on your copyright work, you may create the evidence in the forms of affidavit form to support the rights as to who is the creators and the first dates of the publication or the creation. It could be used as a piece of evidence to support the copyright infringement case. And for the civil action, of course, if it is a trademark infringement, we can rely on passing off claim, but the burdens of proof would be higher.
Thank you very much for these precisions. And now I would like to conclude this webinar today and to thank you very much for your participation, everyone. Before I conclude, I would like to share a few more slides. Important slides to tell you in a few words what you can find if you ever need to contact the Southeast Asia IP SME Helpdesk. First of all, you have to note that all the services that are provided are free of charge. And that is actually a very good news, in particular for SMEs. If you have any questions regarding intellectual property in Southeast Asia, be it on how to protect your IP rights or to enforce, you can contact the IP SME Helpdesk. You can go on the website where you will find a lot of webinars, a lot of case study as well. And the presentations, for example, the presentation of today will be saved and made available. So you can also look at it again. You can contact them directly through the helpline, and they will respond to you within 1 day. And last but not least, you can find a lot of very useful information.
Sorry, Frank.
Yes?
To interrupt, 1 day is too short for me. 3 days.
No.
3 days. 3 days.
We'll say 1 day, and if you can do it in 1 day, it will be good. But let's say 2 days. All right. And also the very important guides and fact sheets. And you can, for example, click on the link here and download the Thailand IP country fact sheets. Again, it's all free of charge and very informative. So I invite you to do this. Last but not least, if you have any questions that you would like to ask the help desk, we can leave a few more minutes also for any direct questions on the services of the IP help desk. As for myself, I would like to say thank you very much for your attendance today. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you to the Southeast Asia IP SME Helpdesk and EABC for hosting this event today.